When you're booked to speak on a podcast, do you worry or even think about what you're going to wear? For example, does grey go with pink? I'm not so sure. Have you ever heard the phrase brand before everything? Well, this is what I'm going to try and explain in this video for you today. Because the truth is your outfit is your positioning. It's what people see before they start to hear you. And it's not just what looks good, it's what it actually says about you. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how to think about your podcast appearance from outfit to color to accessories. I'm not an expert, but I have interviewed hundreds of people and answered thousands of questions on this exact topic. And I'm going to do it so that you can signal the right message to the host and more importantly to your audience and to every future client that's going to see this episode and the assets that will come from it. I'm Freddie, I run a top 1% podcast where I've interviewed more than 100 guests with a combined net worth of more than $3 billion, including Chris Do, Dan Henry, Lauren Tickner, and Daniel Priestley. My team and I have also helped more than 200 entrepreneurs, experts, and business owners to turn podcast guesting into their top marketing channel and drive hundreds of thousands of dollars to their businesses. This is something that most people underestimate. They think it's just a podcast, no big deal. I'll turn up, wear whatever I want, or don't even think about what to wear, and it'll be fine. But podcasts aren't just audio anymore. You see, most shows are filmed, and I would absolutely say that every show that is worth going on certainly is. So if someone says it's just audio only, unless they can prove they've got massive listeners and massive downloads, probably not worth it. Because the clips are gonna get chopped into reels, and they're gonna go on TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Shorts, everywhere, forever. So you're not just dressing for that one interview, you're dressing for every person who ever sees you from that one show. And that way you show up visually. So it's more important than you think to give off the vibe that you want to. So that's what builds trust, authority, or can in fact do the exact opposite. You know, it's your way to first signal your worth, your values, and actually to some extent your intelligence to show yourself and your intent. So if you wear a full suit, you come across more formal, more serious, possibly high ticket. If you're in a t-shirt and shorts, you'll feel more casual, approachable, and maybe even creative. And neither is wrong, but you need to know what you're signaling. So think of it like this. Your clothes set the tone before you speak. They set the expectations and they frame the advice you're gonna give. For example, I'm wearing a questionable jacket and some pink accessories. Let me show you the difference. More laid back, more sporty, more casual. In fact, imagine a finance consultant in a backwards cap talking about investment strategies. It might be brilliant advice, but the visual cue will confuse people. However, if the target audience is wealthy young people between the age of 20 and 30, it probably will work. Meanwhile, a brand strategist in an oversized blazer, gold hoops, they might instantly feel premium, creative, and expressive without saying a word. So you really have to ask, what vibe do I want to give off? How do I want to portray my personality? And my honest opinion for that is to just be honest. Don't overthink and don't be someone you're not. If you're someone that always has a laid back style, regardless of what you do, you're always dressed fairly laid back, do that. Don't think, I'm going to an interview, let me put my best suit on. Some of the best advice I heard about interviewing people for jobs within your business is really look through the suit. If they come in a suit straight away, I would start to think, why? I don't have a clue who you are now. You're hiding and covering off everything that I was going to learn from you if you'd come in individual dressing however you want to wear. If you want to be smart, sure, you can be smart, but you don't need a suit because that hides everything. And that's really helped in our business. So let's go a little bit deeper, because one of the best guests that we've had on the podcast on this sort of topic was a lady called Kelly Lundberg. And she said something that stuck with me. The color you wear says who you are and what you might stand for. And in fact, she is the only guest that we've had on up to now who asked me ahead of time for the color palette and the light shade of our set, so she could match her outfit to it. I thought that was such a great hack, and not only a great hack, but it was something that really impressed me and my entire team. And of course, she nailed it. She stood out. She matched the set really well, or contrasted the set really well. And in all the media assets that we produced together, she comes across super professional. Whereas if someone would have come to a black set with, some white backlighting in a black t-shirt, they might have blended in slightly more. Or they wouldn't have researched me and know that I always wear a black shirt to sort of give the limelight to the guest, and therefore they would have matched me too closely and maybe wouldn't have done as much for their social media or for their whatever they want to do with the assets. So it is true. I mean, wearing red can signal confidence and leadership. Blue can create trust, black more powerful, chic, maybe even a bit intimidating. Green's natural, calming, and sometimes associated with sustainability or freshness. But you've got to pick a brand. I would say go through all of your interviews over a period of time, however many you might do. We always recommend 2 a month, and wear a similar color. You know, unless you are in the fashion niche, then maybe you want to keep changing and showing what's on trend. But the point is that it signals your brand. But it's not just about the color alone, it's about how the color sits on the set. Because if you're wearing beige on a beige set, you're gonna blend in, just like I said about Kelly Lundberg, and you're gonna look like a potato. You want to contrast, you want a visual pop, because remember, we wanna clip this up. So you're making micro content from this long form conversation, and the colors need to stop the scroll or help to stop the scroll. This part's my favorite. This is where I think people can really start to win. It's the accessories. So accessories genuinely change so much when it comes to podcasting. Why? Because a luxury watch signals wealth and attention to detail. A delicate necklace, for example, tasteful, understated, classy. Statement earrings can be bold and confident. Glasses indoors, well, you know, I hope you're famous or a rock star, but it will definitely get you remembered, and it's definitely something that someone has done on our show. I think more than once, actually. And it's those subtle differences that people remembered. People will talk about it. And the key, I think, is subtlety. That's the best way to do it. So you're not trying to scream. You're trying to drop subtle cues. Tiny things that become part of your visual brand. You know, I've had guests where their watch has got more comments than their advice. You know, $300,000 watches on a podcast, people are gonna notice that. That's how deeply and closely people are really watching. It's really more valuable than you think. So for example, I don't wear a watch. I had this watch on it just for this video to show my point, and I forgot to take it off with the suit. I just wear a Whoop, which sort of signals that I'm into health and fitness. Understated. People, if you know what it is, you know what it is. If not, it goes unnoticed. So before you step into a studio, ask yourself, what does their set look like? What are their dominant colors? Will I stand out? Will I disappear? And here's a little hack. Ask the host or their assistant or their team for a few recent video links. Get someone, or do it yourself, study the lighting, the angles, the tones, and you can plan what you're gonna wear and your accessories accordingly. If you've got the budget, you can bring a stylist. If you don't, just keep it clean, contrast the set, really don't overthink it. You're aiming for intentional, not over-styled, and you wanna look like you. That's what I said earlier about honesty. Just be honest to you, but make sure it's just had a little bit of thought to go through it to help you with your assets. And the best version of you is the one that's there to be remembered, ready to be remembered. So this is something that we want to do in the pre-planning. Once we get there, we don't want to think about it again. You've set yourself up for success by just having a little thought about what you're wearing. And at the end of the day, it's not about being fake, it's about being intentional. You've got that one shot on that show, and the clips on that show will represent you and your brand for months, maybe even years, and help you get on the next show. If you want to go from top 7% shows to top 5% shows, those top 5% teams and hosts are going to look back at your top 7% shows. And if you're wearing some stuff that doesn't really match the set, maybe it doesn't work with the lighting, maybe it's identical to the host, maybe it doesn't represent you at all, they're not going to be as persuaded to have you on their show, and you're going to lose that opportunity. So don't show up as an afterthought. Show up as someone who really knows the value of attention, because people notice so much more than you think. That's what I really wanted to get across in this video. At the start, I said I was going to talk about brand over everything. Well, of course, there's so much to be said for what you're going to actually say in the value. And you might be thinking, as long as I deliver value in this content and I'm entertaining or I inspire or I educate, people will listen. Well, okay, but the first thing people are going to do on podcasts is look. How are they going to even get to the podcast? They're going to have to see some sort of advertisement. And every detail from your shirt color to your wristwatch is telling your story. As always, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and ask me any questions you'd like to in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one.